Now, usually after a political candidate loses an election, there is an election autopsy. Okay, the Republicans, for example, they did one in 2012, and now with the shock defeat of Hillary Clinton, when all the polls and expectations were that right now the electors will be casting their vote for the first female president in history, well, you would think that after that shock loss, that shock defeat, that the Democratic Party would be like, oh shit, you know what? We need to do a postmortem. We need to do an autopsy. We need to figure out what the fuck we did wrong. Instead of doing any of that, we've seen the Democratic Party blame pretty much everyone. James Comey, oh my God, it's James Comey. It's the FBI's fault. They screwed it for us. Oh, but it was also the Bernie Bros. Or, oh God, it was the Russians. It was the Russians. Putin's hacking us. But there was also the sexism. I mean, again, the sexism, Bernie Bros. Jill Stein, I mean, she ruined it for all of us. I mean, you name it, Hillary Clinton's team has blamed it. Okay? Now, look, that plays well for, political hacks like Paul Krugman and Peter Dow. But, as well as all the establishment Hillary Clinton supporters. However, the Democratic donors, the ones who actually fund this shit, well, they're not happy. They are less than happy than blaming it on all those things. They want to find out what the fuck actually happened. Now, this was an article that was out last week in Politico. And basically, it points out Democratic donors, they're pissed and they want answers. So, now, they write, the call for a deep and detailed accounting of how Clinton lost a race she and her donors were absolutely certain she'd win didn't begin immediately after the election. There was too much shock over her defeat by Donald Trump and overwhelming grief. Now, look, I remember seeing the pictures of all the crying Hillary supporters. And look, full disclosure, I didn't want Donald Trump to win. I would rather, between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, I voted for Hillary Clinton. But I'm sitting there looking at these pictures of Hillary supporters crying their eyes out. I'm like, dude, come the fuck on. What?
Give me a break.
Okay, you lost. Oh well. You pick up and you fight. You don't sit there and cry. You fight. And you kick their ass. You hit them with a fucking stick. Not literally, of course. But you say, okay, look, we lost. Let's pick up. Let's move on. Let's push the country in a more progressive direction. And we see our opposition. We see Donald Trump. Let's go after him. Let's kick his ass. Okay. But instead, like I said, I remember seeing that, and I was like, come on, guys. Come on. Anyway, her initial conference with top backers, which came just days after the outcome, focused primarily on FBI Director Jim Comey's late campaign season intervention. Now look, that whole thing, James Comey, no doubt he played politics with this whole thing. Of course. Did it have that much an influence? I don't really think so. Let's be honest. Do you see Hillary Clinton supporters out there? Or actually people who thought about voting for Hillary Clinton because like, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of Trump. He says terrible things about the Mexicans and the Muslims. Whatever. I'm not favoring him. I kind of don't like him. And I'm leaning towards Hillary Clinton. Oh, what's that? The possibility of reopening another FBI case, which actually wasn't the case, into Hillary Clinton's emails? Well, that's it. I'm voting for Donald Trump. No, that's not what happens. That's not what happened. I don't think it really had that much of an effect. Really. Especially not as much of an effect as the Republicans, as Hillary Clinton and her team think that it had. But anyway. But in the weeks since, the wealthy Democrats who helped pump over $1 billion into Clinton's losing effort have been urging their local finance staffers, state party officials, and campaign aides to provide a more thorough explanation of what went wrong. Okay, well, look, here's something obvious. You know what I want to think? You know what I think that they did wrong? Or what was wrong with this whole thing? Well, maybe it's the donors. the billion-dollar donors that the American people despise. I think that was one of the big problems. You guys. The guys who are now asking the question, hey, why didn't my investment into Hillary Clinton, my billion-dollar or million-dollar investment, how come that didn't do anything? How come I didn't get return on investment? I want to know. Well, it was you guys. You guys were pumping all that dark money into our politics. That kind of turns people off. Turns out that Americans, they're not exactly comfortable with politicians that are out there buying our fucking, they're with corporations out there buying our fucking politicians. How about that? How about that? Poll after poll, Americans across the political spectrum, I'm talking about Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Green Party, it doesn't fucking matter. They hate the influence of money on our politics. They hate it. So maybe it's the fact that you gave billions of dollars to one politician that turned people off. Like, oh, I don't like that person that's funded by Goldman Sachs. I don't like that person that's funded by Walmart, by all these giant corporations. Not a fan of that. Maybe I'll either not vote or I'll vote for someone else. Don't know. Could be the case. Now, yes. Also, there is the fact that those same donors used all of that money to prop up one of the most unpopular establishment politicians the Democrats have ever run. Maybe that's also a big factor into why you're lost. You put up a wrong person. Just saying. But of course, as you're going to see, they still don't get it. They don't understand this whole thing. Quote, a lot of the bundlers and donors are still in shock and disbelief by what happened. They're looking for some introspection and analysis about what really happened, what worked, and what didn't. According to Ken Martin, chairman of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party and a top Clinton campaign bundler himself. It may take some time to do that, he says, but people are just still scratching their heads. Right. Or, in the words of a Midwestern fundraiser who's kept in touch with his fellow donors, quote, a lot of people are saying, I'm not putting another fucking dime in until somebody tells me what just happened. Well, here's what happened. I'll lay it straight out for you. The DNC screwed over real progressives and put the most establishment, banker, corporate-friendly Democrat that they could find. Somebody that they could buy off super easy in a time, of course, where establishment politics and money in politics is deeply, deeply unpopular. Where populism actually fucking works. Where people were tired of the status quo. People were begging for change. And look, we had the opportunity between good change with Bernie Sanders versus bad change in Donald Trump. But hey, to people, change is change. People were desperate and they were willing to try anything. And so there were people that went, look, previously for Obama, now went for Donald Trump. You know what the two candidates have in common? Pretty much almost nothing, except some of the rhetoric. Change. That's the operative word here. Obama, hope and change. Donald Trump said he's going to drain the swamp. Now, is he draining the swamp? No, he's filling the swamp with more reptiles. I know. Animals are innocent, right? But still, yes, he's filling the swamp with more swamp. But see, he promised change on the campaign trail, and that happens to resonate in a time where people are tired. They're sick and tired of the status quo. So you know what you did wrong is that you tried putting in the status quo. Hillary Clinton, I'm not going to change a damn thing. That was her whole campaign thing is, it's too hard. Let's not change anything. Steady as we go. Establishment. Well, people were not interested in that. Now, do you think the DNC recognizes that whole thing? No, of course not. Look, they're putting in the same old people into the same positions of power. You still have Nancy Pelosi, you've got Chuck Schumer, and now, of course, you've got Obama's labor secretary, Tom Perez. He is running to be DNC chair. You also had Howard Dean in there for a while. He dropped out. And basically, you've got these establishment folks versus Keith Ellison. Now, Keith Ellison may have his own problems, but I still think he's much more of a progressive than some of these other people. His positions are not perfect. Okay. For example, the no-fly zone in Syria, not a good idea. Again, that's going to put us in conflict with the Russians. But at least on domestic issues, he's incredibly progressive. Much more progressive than Tom Perez. Now, do they get it? No. And this is illustrated by this quote from the longtime Clinton friend and donor, Alan Patrisoff. Now, he said, quote, "There's a lot of people expressing the feeling that the campaign had not been run as well as it could be, but I have a different approach. There's always a Monday morning quarterback. She should have gone to Wisconsin. She should have done this. She should have done that. Look at these Monday morning quarterbacks telling us that we should campaign in battleground states, that we should reach out to progressives and working class people. How dare they? Monday morning quarterbacks. That's all they are. They're telling us what we should have done a campaign. Oh, God, this is painful, okay? This is a good example of the hubris of the Clinton campaign, even after getting their ass fucking handed to them with the Electoral College. You still have these people out there going, you're just Monday morning quarterbacking. Oh, they don't get it. They don't get it at all. No, dumbass. That's exactly what you should have done. You should have campaigned in Wisconsin. You should have campaigned in Michigan. Okay? You chose not to do that. You chose not to have a good ground game. Repeatedly, people in Michigan were like, we need more resources. We've got people who want to volunteer that are going to go and knock on doors. We need some promotional materials. We need some campaign flyers. We need shit. Okay? So we can go and spread the message. What the Hillary Clinton campaign said, we're not going to do it. In fact, we're going to tell you not to campaign here. We're going to tell you to campaign in other places. You know why? Because we've got it on. We got this whole Michigan thing. Got it on lockdown. Oh, God. And look, you know what we also said to the DNC? Don't screw over Bernie Sanders. Give him a fair chance. Because look, in every single poll, he destroyed Donald Trump. He did better with working class people in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, and in Wisconsin. These are people that ultimately went over to Donald Trump. And look, Bernie Sanders also he crushed among young people. He beat Donald Trump. He beat Hillary Clinton with young people and working class people. Okay? And look, young people, that's a group that Hillary Clinton struggled with. Okay? And yet Bernie Sanders won the primary. Michigan won the primary in Wisconsin and won with huge numbers. And in Pennsylvania, even though he lost to Hillary Clinton by a substantial amount, among those demographics of young people and working class people, he annihilated both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. It would have been enough of a difference in order for Bernie Sanders to have beaten Donald Trump. Tell me he would have lost. Tell me he would have lost. Of course, I'm going to get people like Peter Dow. Of course, these Hillary Clinton Hillbots are going to come say, no, you don't know that he would have lost. Really? Check the polls. Read any poll you can. Always, if it was between Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders won. But look, no, I'm just Monday morning quarterbacking. That's what I'm doing. And yeah, and this person, Alan Patrisoff, you're bullshitting us. That is pure 100% unadulterated bullshit. Now, he continues, quote, everybody's still frankly stunned, and in the back of their minds, they think they're going to wake up tomorrow morning and all of this never happened, including me. Well, it's called living in a state of denial. Now, he says people are all asking the question of what's next. Who's next in the Democratic Party leadership? Who are the up-and-coming people ahead of 2020? But at this point, it's just a lot of questions. Now, I remember doing a lot of stories, not a lot of stories. I remember doing one story where the party leadership was coming up with who's going to be the party leaders. And guess what? The new party leaders were the same as the old party leaders. All establishment, centrist, corporatist Democrats. The same people who fucked us against Trump were considered to be the next leaders. Tim fucking Kaine. No, whoever said that, whoever thought, floated the idea of putting a loser like Tim Kaine up for 2020 deserves to get fired. Because you're a moron. Tim fucking Kaine. Nobody even knows who he is. He's about as exciting as a piece of driftwood. Let's go watch grass grow. That's just as exciting. But anyway. No, how about we end up going in a more progressive populist direction? And I don't mean lip service, okay? Now, but unfortunately, of course, in the Democratic Party, I haven't seen a lot of movement towards that. And that worries me. That's a problem. That's a huge problem. Now, in fact, some Democrats are now looking to David Brock, who the article points out is planning a retreat for top party finance players in Florida over the Thursday to Saturday of Trump's inauguration week. Now, the weekend is being billed as, quote, the meeting for getting together plans to resist Trump, according to an email invitation sent by veteran Clinton strategist James Carville to high-level donors obtained by Politico. Now, among the gathering's planned sessions, learning from 2016 strategy policy and building a lasting winning coalition, campaign tactics of the future, polling, social media, and targeting, the new face of the right, holding Trump accountable, and ethics watchdog on steroids. So, look, that's this whole David Brock bullshit, okay? Now, here's what you don't do. Listen to fucking David Brock. Okay. This is the man that helped smear Bernie Sanders. Again, this is the guy that smeared Bernie Sanders. Now, David Brock, he is a former right-wing attack dog who has no issues of smearing progressives. In fact, he used to smear Hillary Clinton all the time until he saw the light and he came over and was like, oh, I'm sorry, Hillary. I'm going to help you now by smearing progressives. That is one guy you don't want to listen to. Unless you like to keep losing. Okay, if you want to keep losing, go ahead and listen to David Brock. I'm sure campaign tactics of the future is going to be a riveting, session. Jesus. Now, finally, the article ends with this. 5 weeks after Democrat shock, donors are still slow to agree to fund any one organization or blaze any one path ahead. Well, again, I think the Democratic donors should just get the fuck out. We don't need the Democratic donors anymore. We don't need them. We don't need their stinking money. As Bernie Sanders has shown, we don't need their fucking money. Now, let's see. Another frustrated top-tier fundraiser said, quote, most people are keeping their powder dry. It's a bad strategy. It is classic Democrat to go into a fight, but pull back or say they're never going to do politics again. While he says, all the Republican donors I know are organizing campaigns and groups and setting stuff up. Now, look, that's really important to point out because that is classic Democrat. Classic, we need mealy mouth, not like spineless, not standing up for their values. I'm never going to go into politics again. I'm never going to vote in this election again. Fuck you. Okay? You're going to give up. Well, then you're useless. No, you don't give up. What you have to do, if you're a liberal, if you're progressive, you got to fight. You got to stop being weak. See, the problem I have with the Democratic Party is that they don't fight. Now, progressives are fighting, but where's the Democratic Party? Where's the so-called liberals? Where are they? Where are they? Well, they're over there blaming James Comey. They're over there blaming Russia. They're blaming Putin. No, what you got to do is you got to blame You gotta look to where the blame really lies. With yourself. With not fighting. With being too weak, too conciliatory. What you have to do to handle this new breed of Republican Party is not the old party. Okay, it's not the party of old. It's not the people that you could actually have some sort of a rational conversation with that just want a couple more tax cuts. No, this is completely different. These are people you have to, not literally, but figuratively punch in the face in order to get them to actually work with you. Okay? You have to hit them with a stick. And right now, we're offering too many carrots as the Democratic Party. That's my issue with them, okay? And they've got to stop blaming everyone else for their loss. It's absolutely ridiculous what the Democratic Party is doing right now. They're going in the wrong direction. No, get rid of the donors. Get rid of the corruption. Okay? Promise, make an effort to get the money out of politics, to get the big donors out of the Democratic Party. That is the only way people are actually going to be interested in becoming a part of the Democratic Party again. Right now, they've got an opportunity. After this election, they've had an opportunity to completely, not just rebrand themselves, but to rebuild themselves into a party of working people. And what are they doing? They're pissing it away. And progressives, like me, we're sitting here, we're going, what the fuck are you doing? Do something different. Go in a different direction. It's time. It's time. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.